So here we are, Friday morning. This is after we just set up and the doors have not been open long. I think it was about 9 o'clock, so people started coming in. As you can see, my car's there. You can see in the paintwork that it could do with paint correction, really. Hasn't had one for a while, which I'll get round to at some point. This is Ben's car, a young lad, he's only 16, and I believe that he's used the money from inheritance money. It was a good way of a good investment. It's had a lot of work done over the years, but it's really coming on really rather nicely. You can see there the price is 22,795. That was the cost of all the FRPs new, unless you have the limited slip diff, and that would then the total price was 23,000. Here we have the conversion parts, which is basically the parts, and the majority of the parts that was used to upgrade a standard Puma to the FRP model. As I said, not all there, but a lot of the parts that were there. Now this is Errol's car. He's had a highly modified car. It's got a different engine in it from 2.3 litre, and it's got three maps on it, a 600 brake I believe, 450 and a 350, so it's a very powerful front wheel drive car. Here we have a 1.7 Z-Tech engine. It's actually a Formula 3 engine, so it's quite a lot different to our cars, but obviously the engines, the block's the same. There we have the F2 wing. Now that's the wing that I want to fit on my car eventually, and I think you'll agree it looks fantastic, so I'm looking forward to fitting that. Just quickly, here we are. We just decided to polish and wax the bonnet of the car before applying the decals, just to make it look as best as we could before we applied them. It didn't remove many of the swirls, but for now it did a good enough job, just in preparation, as I said, to put the first decals on the bonnet. It was a bit more trickier than I first anticipated. I suppose it is with anything like this that you do for the first time. However, with the 4 of us or the 5 of us going at it and using water, and we should have used fairy liquid, which would have aided further, but using the water allowed us to lift it and replace it until we were happy with the position. But at the end of it all, I'm really happy with how it came out, and at this stage we've done just the front left wing there and the bonnet, and as you can see, just trying to fine tune it and make it look as good as possible. And there's Alan just helping me light out on the bonnet. Okay, so Alcon caliper repair. These are the calipers that come with the Racing Puma. Around a few years back, I had 2 sets refurbished, shot blasted and powder coated, and then replaced some seals and the bolts on them there. Unfortunately, when I was rebuilding them, there's 4 holes, 2 for bleed nipples and 2 for bridge lines, and it was either the bridge line or the bleed nipple. I over tightened and cross-threaded it, which rendered it useless. So what you can see here is Simon is using a rethreading tool just to go back over the holes, just to make sure that they're clean and they can be reused again. But shortly you'll notice that we come across one of the holes, which is clearly the one that I cross-threaded. So the way to repair this is to use something called a helicoil. So what you'll see in the next clip is you'll see how we fit that, and how that repairs and resolves the issue of stripping a thread. What you'll see in a second as well is that I will get a new replacement bleed screw out. There's the hole that's too big and damaged. You'll see that I get the bleed screw out and I fit it into here, and it's just too loose. It's not creating a seal, and that's just simply because the hole's too big. So as I said, the next clip coming up, you'll see is the process of fitting a helicoil and resolving the stripped thread. Okay, so time to repair the stripped thread. So this is the process of fitting a helicoil. So what we need to do is we need to drill out the hole big enough for the helicoil. So what we've done is marked a little bit of tape on the drill bit there to make sure that we don't go any deeper than the existing hole, because all we need to do is make the hole bigger to take in the helicoil. So next up is we need to create a new thread. So we're using the threading tool here. So we go in and out, cutting in and creating a new thread, which the helicoil will screw into. So there you can see we go back and forth, just ensuring that it's nice and clean. Okay, so next up is the helicoil. So you'll see here that Simon begins to screw in the coil, and he screws it all the way to the bottom of the new drill hole using the new thread that we've created. Now at the bottom here, there's a little tag which is on the helicoil, which allows you to wind it into the caliper. So what we need to do now is snap the little tag off And as you can see there, we're struggling a little bit because it was quite a tight hole to get it out. But in a second, you'll see that we tap it out and we pour it out. And then this has created a brand new thread, exactly the same size as the new bleed screw we've got. And in a second, you'll actually see me using a ratchet tool to tighten it up, meaning that I got a really good purchase on it, and obviously be able to tighten it up tight enough to stop any brake fluid coming out. And there we have one repaired bleed nipple. As I mentioned a few moments ago, the Alcon calipers are made from aluminium, which is a very soft metal. And with the Alcons, when the mould was created for the calipers themselves, for some reason Alcon left a little hole, as you can see in this image here that I'll show on the screen, which allowed water ingress, which has created an issue on the outer bolt holes which tighten the calipers together. The issue we've got is that water gets in there and the aluminium and the steel bolts react together and they fuse together, creating almost a brand new metal. So much so that it's impossible to unscrew them without them shearing off or snapping. So what this process is and this video is showing is that Simon is using a drill bit to drill out the old snapped off bolts, and then the same process as you've seen a minute ago is recoiling them using a helicoil, but just a slightly smaller size this time, so that we can reuse the bolts. So what we recommend to all owners is that when they do this process is that they look to buy stainless steel bolts, which will stop the reaction between the two metals, and then in future when you try and dismantle the calipers and repair them, the bolts will come out easily without any issue. So as I've mentioned there, you'll see that Simon has now drilled out the hole, refitted the new helicoil as you can see there, and then when we put the two calipers together, once you get some new stainless steel bolts, which you'll see in a second. Sorry about the footage, it's a bit jumpy here, but as you can see, Simon's breaking off the tag that I mentioned earlier in the other clip, and in a few seconds we put the other caliper on and you'll see that it's an old bolt here, but you can see that it begins to screw in again because it's screwing into the new helicoil, and that's how you fix the outer ones, the outer bolts that is, sorry. Okay, so we've just helicoiled the far bolt, as you saw in the last video. Now this one, we decided that we'd see if we could use a stud extractor tool. But as you can see, these are really good branded one that Simon bought on the day, and we wondered if we'd be able to extract the bolt without having to drill it out. However, you'll see in a second that just quite how corroded that the bolt becomes in the caliper, because the wind out tool that you can see there that we're trying to use, which he eventually uses with the drill in a second, it just spins, so you can just see that there's no way that that's coming out of there without being drilled. But we thought we'd give it a go to see if we could, because it'll mean a cleaner hole, and it'll save helicoiling. But as you can see, it just strips it straight away. So what we need to do with that one is the same process as you saw a minute ago, is drill it out larger, fit a helicoil, and that will resolve the issue. There you go, you can see Simon on the second set of calipers, because this was a pair which went through the same issue. He's now trying to re-helicoil that one as well. So he goes through the same process. So in fact on this set of calipers and the other ones, all the outer bolts, that's all 4 of them, all needed helicoiling in order to resolve the issue with the bolts snapping in there. But as you can see there, look, it's winding in nicely. And that's the method of repairing these, is to, once the bolt shears off, open them up, drill them out, re-helicoil, and then when you replace the bolts, ensure you use stainless steel in order to stop it happening again. So when you come in to refurbish them in a few years down the line, the bolts should come out. And also we recommend when refitting the bolts is you use copper slip, which will also aid in removal of the bolts further down the line. So there we have it. I hope that's useful for other people when they come to refurbishing a pair of calipers themselves, not just Alcon but other brands as well. Day 2, and it's cold, really cold. Come down for breakfast at 7. Don't serve till 7, breakfast till 7:30. Excellent. So yeah, a little wait around, and looking forward to getting back in there, finishing off the car, and having a little walk around today because I haven't actually been around at all around the looking at any of the other cars. So get my decals finished today, which would be great, and yeah, crack on and have a look around. Catch you all later.
Well, there is. You can take them off.
Yeah. Pretty good. Something a bit different. Let's get the rest of it on there. Natural habitat. Right, so as you can see, it's a painfully slow process to get it right without getting any bubbles in it. I mentioned earlier, I really wish we had some fairy liquid because it made the job a little bit easier. It would have been able to be the ability to slide it, but as soon as the panel's not completely flat, the vinyl just wants to have bubbles in it. So it's a real slow process of lifting it up, relaying it down, and just trying to manipulate it into the position that you want. But I think the more I did, the better I improved. There is a few mistakes, but easy enough to be rectified. And as I said, this is just a temporary thing. I'm not sure how long I'll leave it on there for, but at the moment I'm enjoying it. As you can see here, this side was the side where I did really mess up. I should have left the inner bit and done it at the same time. So the bit you can see there now actually slipped when I was applying it, which meant that the lower sections didn't line up properly. So I have asked for a new printout sections to come to me for that one. This pretty much kept me busy for all of the Saturday, so I didn't get out to see him very much, but as you can see, the car is looking really good. And pretty much I was glad to get it over and done with, which meant that I could enjoy the last day. So let's leave him for today. Saying farewell. Get the rabble out. Till tomorrow.